Hey there, UK EDCers. Today I have this on loan from EDC Life. Thank you very much, Macaulay. Go check his channel out. It's in the link in the description. This can be had for around £23 from Heine Haynes, or you can get this with a Blade Medic, which is a small pocket sharpening system, which isn't great. It's a pull-through sharpener, which is what these marks are. They're from a pull-through sharpening system, sort of like this. You just pull the blade. So don't get the Blade Medic one really. It's a serviceable pocket sharpener, but just stick to the knife. You can also get this with a Hawkbill blade, which is called the Madrock version, which is even more aggressive looking than this. But if you're into that, it's it's a great option. It's another thing to consider. That's £27. This comes in a blister pack, I believe. I don't have the original packaging because obviously this isn't mine. But it's it's serviceable. It does the job. It gets the knife to you safely. So it's nothing special, but it's this isn't an expensive premium product. This is a tool at its core, so I wouldn't expect anything too crazy for the packaging anyway. So this action on this is very stiff, and it's designed that way because it's supposed to be world legal. And that entails, obviously it's encompassing as much of the world as possible, if not all of it, although I'm sure there are places where you can't carry any kind of knife. However, this is designed to be two-hand opening only, with a blade length under 3 inches, and that's basically all you really need to achieve. The spring strength on this is crazy. It is, I think, second top on my spring chart scale. It is, and it's a whopping 1.6 kilogram close weight and a 1 kilogram open weight. However, that's quite misleading because although it sounds like it's really difficult to open, and if you did have to use that nail nick, it would be. However, because so much of the blade is exposed above these scales, you can simply pinch wherever you want and it opens fairly easily. I don't really think that's even an issue with wet hands because you can sort of get the blade under this and then you've got angle to grip on and push up. So it's actually, even though it seems like on paper this would be a bad knife to open and close, it's actually really not in practice. I haven't touched this nail nick whatsoever. In fact, yeah, that kind of sucks. The pinch method just is much better on this. And it's completely serviceable. There's no problem with that. In fact, if I had been them, I'd have just left that nail nick off. I'd have just done it like that on both sides. So washers, this is, I believe, phosphor bronze. It is indeed phosphor bronze. And they're weird because this knife had never been disassembled before I'd done it, and it already had weird sort of damage or cuts to the washers. So don't know about that. It still works though, and the action's actually not that bad. I wouldn't quite go as far to say this has a fantastic walk and talk, but it's not. I'd say it's still better than the Benchmade proper, which is almost my low bar because that's just nothing. There isn't really a walk and talk on that. I mean, obviously there is, but it's really depressing. It's yeah, right here. It just doesn't, there's no real snap or anything. Whereas this, even though it's a cheap £23 knife, there's still, there's a little snap there. So this is something. I wouldn't really call it a selling point as such. Hardware type, it's all hex bits, and they're weird. These back ones came sort of fused together, and if it wasn't damaged before, it certainly is now. So there's that. But yeah, it's not the greatest material or the strongest. Macaulay EDC Life also informs me that he used to carry this tip down, so he had this pocket clip over here. Apparently the pocket clip would sometimes just fall out. This screw, it was this hole was stripped or threaded. Sorry. This one, I immediately turned it to tip up because that's just how I carry my knives. So I haven't experienced that myself. I don't know if that's just this clip here. Maybe it's where it goes through the metal a bit more. I don't know, but tip up at least it doesn't seem to have that problem. And it's an alright clip. It's completely changeable. You can have this tip down left or right, or tip up left or right, which is nice. It's hardly a deep carry clip. It's, of course, going to stand out, and it's a big knife as well. So in your pocket, it's going to look fairly substantial. So there is that. This is FRN scales with steel liners, and you also have this sort of extension to the backspacer spring there, which has your lanyard hole through it if you should wish to put a lanyard on this. Grip and guard on this. So grip on this is, I mean, look, if you're doing hard use with this, which you absolutely can with this knife because the spring strength is pretty phenomenal. So, I mean, this is only really beaten by this thing here, which I'd absolutely be, you know, I wouldn't hesitate to use either of these for, you know, relatively hard use. Obviously, nothing beats a fixed blade and then a locking blade below that, but you know, as for what we can carry in the UK legally, I think these two are probably about as dependable as you can get for not closing on your fingers. And if that's not enough, it actually won't cut you if it closes on them, because you've got that big bit of blade there that sort of just hits you, and then at worst you'll get like a big pinch there, and I can do that pretty damn hard, and it's uncomfortable, but you know, at least it's not cutting me. You can see right there. So that's actually some pretty impressive design. This jimping here, it's functional. You know, it's really grippy jimping, unlike, you know, a lot of jimping. I mean, I'm going to reference it again. I'm not hating on this knife or anything. It seems like I am, but I'm really not. This Benchmade Proper, I love this knife, by the way. It's just an easy one to pick on. This jimping here is worthless. They might as well have not included it. It doesn't matter how hard I press, it doesn't offer any additional grip. This one, obviously, it's a different matter. Now, it comes at the cost of comfort, because big jimping like that is not going to be very comfortable, of course. But it's not to the point where it's unusable by any means. I wouldn't want to be using this for a long time doing hard work. But again, if you're doing hard use for an extended period of time, you probably want to be looking into a fixed blade, or at the very least a locking knife. If you're just in a pinch though, I think this would be fine. It's a little uncomfortable down here as well, like I can feel my fingers going in between these, but again, it's not to the extent where I'd be, oh, screw this, I'll just come back the next day with a fixed blade or something. I'd easily get by with this, I think. This is completely fine. It's completely ambidextrous, left-handed. The clip can go either side, left hand, and even though the nail nick doesn't extend there, as I explained earlier, you can just go crazy with the pinch. So, you know, no worries whatsoever for left-handed people. This is entirely ambidextrous. Fit and finish on this, it's fine. Keep in mind it's a £23 knife. Like I said, these back two screws were basically fused together, and they're easily stripped, and that was a bit shit. And apparently this threaded itself. Like I said, EDC Life said you could pull it out of there without unscrewing it. Again, I've not met that problem here, but you know, just keep in mind. Also, that phosphor bronze washer that was on the inside that was already damaged before ever being opened. And another thing is the steel on this. It seems to pick up, even though it's got a fair bit of chromium in it. I think that's supposed to be the stainless element. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be very resistant to it. You can see some little rust spots forming right there. And when I first got this off of Macaulay, there was some rust spots on it that I managed to clean off mostly, but you can still see remnants of them there. So it's really all right for the price, though. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's going to fall apart in my hands or anything stupid like that, and it's not like half of this scale is hanging off. You know, it's adequate, easily adequate. It's just not mind-blowing. Blade material, talking of the rust that's forming on the blade, is 9CR18 MOV. And like I said, it seems to be alright, but it doesn't seem to be very rust resistant. As for edge retention, again, take this always with a grain of salt, my edge retention, because it's patsy office use, it's not hard use by any means, and I'm not properly testing for it. But it's actually been phenomenal. It's been fantastic, this edge retention. This steel should last anyone a day's work or more, at least. I can't remember if I've sharpened it since, because obviously this isn't my knife, so I was looking to get it back to its owner fairly soon, although I think now I'm passing it round to Paddy in the next pass around group. So he'll be doing a review of it. Here we go. Ah, yeah, no way have I. There you go, look, you can see it's hanging up on little bits, and it's hardly what I'd call a fine edge, but it's absolutely a working edge. You know, it can still cut paper. Just about, anyway. But yeah, so that's after several days use. So the steel on this is fine, you know, especially for the price you pay, and don't just watch it for rust spots, I'd say, is all really. Billboarding, yeah, there's a fair bit of it. There's not on the pocket clip though, which is a big plus for me. But you do get designed by Williamson, Urban Tactical, and then Williamson's logo there as well as there. You also get his logo. Oh no, actually you don't get it on the other side. Fair enough. You get your 9CR18 written on the blade there, as well as Lansky sharpeners, even though this is the knife. But I guess they've got to put the whole thing for their company on there, so why not? You don't get a sharpening choil or a finger choil, and the lack of sharpening choil is a little bit of a downer for me, but you know, it doesn't look like it'd be too hard to put one on there at all. There's not like a huge mess of material there. You just need to take a tiny little thing there and it'd be fine. So, not the end of the world by any stretch. Blade play, nothing. Centering, I mean, shockingly, yeah, it's absolutely fine. Do you know what I mean? How can you complain at that, especially for the money? That's absolutely alright. Let's do a little size comparison here. Oh, cool, they're all up here. So there's the Benchmade Mini Griptilian, a Benchmade 940, and the Paramilitary 2. So you can see it's actually a fairly big knife, especially for being UK legal. So if you're into that, it's certainly one to go for, as long as you like the fairly divisive appearance. As for the UK side of things, or the lesser free side of the world, there is a UK PK. Here is a Victorinox Pioneer, and I don't even really know why I'm doing this one, but there you go. There's a little babby knife, the classic SD, and you should have had stats up there somewhere. So yeah, this knife has actually performed. I was expecting to hate this knife, okay, because I'll level with you, I don't particularly like the looks of this knife, and I'm not alone in that. In fact, my friend Matt, who does the paracord for me, he did this and this, along with some others that I don't have to hand, but anyway, I'll put a link to his eBay in the description if you're interested in that. But he also did this, which should be on screen now, which he calls the Tactical Delete, which gets rid of all the tactical stuff on this knife and makes it into more of just like a beak or a bill sort of shape, and makes it look less aggressive, because this knife is fairly aggressive in its style. I mean, they even put Urban Tactical on the blade there. And again, that's entirely a taste issue. If you like the way this looks, that's absolutely fine, of course. I like the way the Hindra looks, and a lot of people say that's disgustingly tactical and has no place in the UK market, but I can't help myself. This is a little bit far for my tastes, but like I said, it's taste. I do prefer Matt's approach to it, where it's a little more subtle. It's still a big knife though, which is something to consider. This is, like I said, this is fairly huge, so looking at it compared to that, I mean, even if let's get a Hinderer, in fact. You know, the Hinderer, it's actually got more blade, but it's not got as big a footprint sort of width-ways or height, I guess, if you're looking at it from this angle. So it's still, there's not much in it, but it is a smaller knife, really. So that's definitely something to consider. Also, it takes up a lot of space in your pocket. It really does. So if you're one of those people that does want to carry other stuff in their knife pocket, and a lot of people don't, it's generally considered a bad idea. But if you really do carry a lot of stuff and you want to put stuff in the pocket with your knife, it might get in the way, especially when you're going in there to grab stuff. So another thing to possibly consider. Value-wise, though, I don't think there's a lot that beats this. The steel is fine, the edge retention is fine, the ergonomics are fine. It actually has an incredibly strong spring strength. It's supposedly world legal, you know, in as many places as can be. There's a really strong argument for this knife, and like I said, as much as I don't like the looks of it, using it, I had no problems with it whatsoever. It was quite pleasant to open and close, no issues with that. It was very pleasant to use. Because I wasn't hard using it anyway, I never had any of the perceived issues that I had with this jimping or anything. You know, it never hurt or anything, because it's, you know, unless you're really pressing down on it, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to give you a little bit of extra grip. So I was actually really impressed with this knife. I had zero expectations. I thought it's a crappy £23 knife with, you know, different styling, and I really didn't see myself liking this one. But do you know what? I actually really do like this knife. Again, don't like the way it looks, but everything else is impeccable for the price. So I think value-wise, it can't be beat. I don't really know what else I'd recommend over this, especially at the moment. A close competitor would have been the Liongma No. 5, but I don't think you can get the £25 edition anymore. I think Heine have stopped selling it, and I think elsewhere you can only get it for the full £50. So, you know, if you're on the lookout for an affordable knife, or you don't want to spend a lot on knife, or you're not sure whether you like this hobby, or hell, you just like this one, I think this is an absolute winner. Just, I mean, hell, if you don't like it, you could always send it back, I guess. But at the price, I think this is a no-brainer. I'm almost considering just getting one for myself, because it's a good one to take somewhere you're unsure of, you know, where it is unquestionably UK legal. I mean, I've already shown the stats on screen, but as I like to do, let's get the old calipers out in inches, and from the bolster there, look at that. And that's all the way out to about there from the bolster is 3 inches. So you've got a lot of wiggle room in that. There's not going to be any mistaking that that's under 3 inches. As well as having a little bit of a ricasso here, and being unlocking and two-hand opening. The only thing that's going to hold you back really is the tactical aggressive looks on this, but you know, it is UK legal to carry, at least as far as I can tell. So yeah, I think this is fine. I think this is a great little buy. You know, not beautifully finished or anything, but it's certainly a great user. Thank you very much, and thank you for lending this to me, Macaulay. Cheers.